How's it, everybody? This is a story about a house that we lived in. And I don't know so much that it was haunted. I think it just maybe had been built on a place that had a lot of spiritual activity. Um, but it was quite a house. So we were on the mainland. Kevin and I were on the mainland, and we were there for a job for him, and not even there a year. And he had got activated. He was in the Air National Guard and deployed. So we put our house up for sale, packed everything up, shipped it home. He went overseas. I went back to Kailua. So our furniture and everything was going to be arriving in like a week or 10 days. So I needed to find a place to live immediately. And I called a friend of mine who is a realtor, and she checked with a couple of her realtor friends, found us a place immediately. So we went to go see it, and I leased it right there on the spot. I signed the lease. The thing about this house was it was everything we needed. We needed a place that was big enough with enough bedrooms and preferably kailua, and that had a garage because we had so much stuff that was coming, and it had all of that. So size wise, it was perfect. But the thing about this house, though, was when I walked into it, it was completely white. White ceilings, white doors, white floors, white kitchen, absolutely white. But it had a feeling of it being whitewashed. And you know what whitewashed means. And I don't mean to say that the landlord was like covering anything up, because this has really nothing to do with the landlord at all. It's just that was the feeling. It was like it was a facade as to what was actually happening there, or what would happen there. So, but the garage was the exact opposite of the house. So that while the house was white, pristine looking, the garage was super dark, and it had a creepy, ominous feeling to it. So much so that none of us wanted to go in there. We didn't even park our cars in there. We didn't use it. So it was very, it was the opposite of how the house appeared. So anyway, so we move in, Zion and I move in. And the way the house was set up was the bedrooms were on the back, and it was the end of a cul-de-sac. So the bedrooms were back up against a fence, and there were no houses or anything behind it. But behind the house, there what looked like a natural waterway that ran down, and it had been cemented down at the end, like city and county had cemented it or something. I don't know. Maybe to keep it from eroding more. I don't know. But the waterway ended behind the bedrooms. So I noticed that right away. It was just kind of, I don't know, it just caught my attention. So the very first night that we were there, and it was just Zion and I. Now I gave him the master bedroom with the bathroom because his friends were always over. And so that way they could all just hang out in there, do their thing. I had the rest of the house. So, it was good. They had their space. And so I took the small middle bedroom. And the very first night, you heard all this walking back and right up against the bedroom windows. And it sounded like a whole bunch of people walking back and forth and back and forth. And it happened every single night that we were there. And I used to keep my curtains closed because it felt like for me, keeping the curtains closed kind of had a barrier to whatever it was that was outside. Because I wasn't comfortable. I wasn't comfortable with what was happening outside. But anyway, the kitchen was central in the middle of the living area. And so whether you're on the lanai or the dining area or the living room, you could see into the kitchen. And so a few days after Zion and I had moved in, we're sitting in the living room and we're just talking story, and we hear a noise in the kitchen. So we both turn and we see the cabinet door open. And we looked at each other and was like, oh shit, did you see that? And of course, both look back at the same time, and then a dish comes flying out of that cabinet. And so then we were like, oh shit, did you see that? It was like, oh my God, what the fuck was that? So, if there was any question up to that point, whether what we were picking up was true or not, that was proof. There was definitely activity. So one day, Zion was with his friends, hanging out in the room, and I was in the patio area, and I was painting, and I saw Zion go down the hallway, and he was going down to the last bedroom. The last bedroom was right next to the garage. Now, my daughter had moved in with us about 3 weeks after we had taken possession of this house. And so that was her bedroom. And so I saw Zion walk past. And then like a minute later, my phone rings. And so I answer my phone, and it's Zion. And he said, Mom, can you come and let me out of Sasha's room? And I said, what do you mean let you out of Sasha's room? And he said, I'm locked in the room. And I said, unlock the door. And he said, I can't. It won't unlock. I'm locked in. So, okay. So I go down the hallway. I try to open the door. It's locked. But there's no screws. So, I can't take the handle off to get him out. So I have to go through the garage and out the back door to the windows. So I do that. And when I get to the windows are mounted like weird. It had Jealousies. But the way Jealousies are is that when you're in the house, that's where the glass is. The screen is on the outside of the house. In this room, the Jealousies were mounted outside. And when I took the Jealousies out, the screen was nailed to the outside of the house. A shitload of nails to hold the whole thing in. And so I had to go and get something to pull all these nails out so I could get Zion out. But if you were stuck there, you're trapped. There's no way you would have been able to get out. So if that door closed on you, you're screwed. So I pull him out, put everything back, and I call the landlord. And I told the landlord about the door. And so they send the handyman over, and the handyman comes over, and he takes that doorknob off from the hallway, goes into the bedroom, and then the door shuts on him, locks him in. So we can hear him yelling, and he's yelling, help, help. He's doing all of that. So we all go down the hallway to the bedroom, and he says, I'm locked in. I can't get out. So we do the same thing. We all go outside, pull all the Jealousies out, pull him out. He gets all cut as we're pulling him through. He's getting cut from the sides of the Jealousies. So he's bleeding and cut and kind of freaked. But he got it fixed. Now, another time, Zion and his friends were hanging out, and, they decided to go somewhere. But one of his friends had fallen asleep on his bed. So Zion and them got up, and he said, Mom, we're going wherever that was they were going. And he says, when he wakes up, tell him where we are. Okay. So after a while, the guy wakes up, and he says, I fell asleep on the bed and something pulled my toe really hard. Now, we've had that happen over here, but it's playful over here. Over there, it had a different feel. It had an aggressive feel, almost like an attack. Almost, it had that kind of a to it. So the thing about this house was, I was afraid to go into any of these rooms by myself when nobody was there, because I was afraid I was going to get locked in. When Zion would take a shower, he could feel a presence inside that bathroom. And so when I'd go clean the house and nobody was around, I would either put some kind of something to block the door open and still, or my foot, I would keep my foot there, and I would only vacuum or mop as far as I could stretch and still keep my foot there. Because if I was locked in, if the same thing happened and I'm trapped in that room, I'm trapped. So it was kind of like you had to plan out how you were going to do things in there, in the off chance that something was going to occur. So one of the things that I did was, when we got there, I took a bunch of photos of the property and the inside of the house, and with the intention to send them to Kevin to tell him, show him what I had rented. And when I got these photos back, the one photo that was the back of the house where the waterway ran, and it showed the 3 bedrooms and the garage. It had figures outside of my daughter's bedroom. And so we thought it was, it's like, oh, there it is. But she took this photo to her boss, and her boss, Cindy, was very, very sensitive. I don't know that I'd call her psychic, but she was very sensitive to a lot of stuff. And she said, what we thought, she said, no, that's not it at all. She showed Sasha. There were 3 or 4 figures, huge figures, taller than the eaves of the house. And in the photo, they appeared like, almost like mist, but very distinct. You could see the body, and you could see bodies, and you could see the heads. And they were right there. And so I still have that photo too. I saw it not too long ago. I've got it. I'm not sure where it is right now, but I have it. And so I don't know. Well, that's the main thing about this house, but I don't know. I want to say it was the waterway. I think that these spirits were somehow tied to this area because of the waterway. And so I also tend to think that these were menehune. Menehune are not little like leprechauns like everybody thinks they are. They're huge figures. And, they're known to do work at nighttime. And so maybe that was all the pacing and walking and the constant activity behind the house at night. I don't know. But, yeah, maybe I should have listened to what I was picking up right away. When I first signed the lease, and the feeling that it was whitewashed. Well, I don't know that would make a difference, because it was perfect for what we needed at the time. So I probably would have rented it anyway. Maybe we were supposed to be there. I don't know. But, so that's the story of the house in Enchanted Lakes at the end of the cul-de-sac. I'm not going to give you the name of the street. So thank you for watching. I appreciate it a lot. Aloha.